My name is Marisa Goldstein. I am the SVP and co-founder of Keystone Commerce. I have spent the last decade in the e-commerce space helping businesses big and small understand their strategy and implementing across Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, Target, and beyond, to really understand not only how to get set up, but also really be successful. Profitability is becoming more and more of a hot topic as retailers push fees and just more complexity onto brands. It is not an easy space. I'm sure you all understand the complexity that comes with it. And so, hoping to spend a little bit of time, demystifying what it takes to be successful on Amazon. So, let's get started talking a little bit about the power of Amazon. Amazon is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It accounts for almost 40% of total e-com market share. Nearly 70% of US households have a Prime membership. That is more than people who have pets, people who put up a Christmas tree, or people who belong to a church, which is just absolutely astonishing to me. And they ship almost, over 1.5 million packages a day. If you think of that volume, they're, one of the largest, logistics companies in the world as well. It just really is, if you think the arrow that goes from the A to Z, it really is the everything store. They have everything from A to Z. They have over 600 million products on site today. And that is growing as they continue to add, by the minute. And one of the most interesting things is the way the mix has shifted from the 1P relationship, where it historically started, to 3P. It has really become largely dominated by marketplace sellers, with over 60% of their sales coming from that today. And so, as we'll talk through how both of those relationships work. 1P is historically kind of that legacy relationship. Many obviously still exist today, but really that dynamic in the future really kind of exists in that marketplace where there is a lot more control. And truly, that's where a lot of other retailers like a Walmart and a Target are shifting as well. If you look at Walmart, Amazon's guiding principles, you can really think about, you can really take these into account to think about how to integrate them into your strategy, to think how, how to appeal to Amazon and get inside their brain. The first being customer obsession rather than competitor focus, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. And if you think about Amazon, this really makes sense, right? They are an incredibly innovative company. They're constantly, one step ahead of the competition. We always say that, competitors like a Walmart are, a couple steps behind them when it comes to .com. From an operational standpoint, it's just insane. If you've ever been to one of their DCs, it's just, the innovation and the automation is just truly, state of the art. So if we can integrate, their thinking into how we can truly, integrate that into a strategy that's actionable today for a business, whether you are getting started on Amazon or you have a very mature business. These are some principles that I truly think can be embedded into any strategy to help you truly be successful and drive growth. The first being customer obsession. Amazon wants to get the best products, the best assortment to customers at the best price as soon as possible. So as you're thinking about that, how do you truly make sure that you have, those sharp prices, that you have the best shipping options enabled, that you are putting the customer first, that you are truly trying to think about that, at the core when you are trying to think about your assortment and that innovation. Of course, you have to do that profitably. That will come through in kind of all of these slides. But, as we're trying to make sure that you're not, losing money on every sale, making sure that we're still competitive and, we're not, the customer isn't looking at your product online and saying, I can just walk down to Walgreens and buy this for half the price, and you're pricing yourself out of the market. There really is that fine line, and you need to do that competitive research to understand, what is realistic. Profitability is one of those kind of, again, I said, a very hot topic. .com is likely not going to be your most profitable channel. Amazon is not going to buy truckloads. You have to take into account things like shipping and individual packaging and advertising. But when you think about it as more of a marketing vehicle and the halo effect that comes with it, how many consumers are starting their shopping journey online, it really is a different animal. It also is really important to think upstream. The more we can integrate and have an e-commerce first mindset when it comes to planning, the better off you're going to be. So many companies, e-commerce becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you truly start to, companies want e-commerce to be a bigger part of their business, but they're not truly taking it into account when they're planning for their business, when they're thinking about innovation, when they're thinking about their operations and their packaging. So the more you can kind of bring that to the core, the more you're truly able to be successful and have that be kind of a leader in the space. Being open to test and learn opportunities, being open to being first and fast. These are two of the most crucial. There will be beta test opportunities. There will be new features that we won't know if they're going to be successful, but we can speculate. And the more we're able to get in front of the competition and, again, have that first mover advantage, the better off we're going to be. And then, of course, it's not always the most fun to talk about, but streamlining operations. The more you can do that, the more we're able to save. That's generally one of the biggest savers when it comes to profitability, whether that be packaging, shipping, et cetera. This slide is meant to be overwhelming. Amazon is overwhelming. It is filled with different acronyms that are confusing. They change acronyms all the time. There was just an announcement the other day that SIOC is now SIP, ships in product packaging, instead of ships in own container. I don't know why it needed to change, but Amazon likes to do that. And while there are all of these different things, we truly are here to help you simplify it and, not oversimplify it, right? Because, there are so many different moving pieces, and the brands that are truly excelling and really winning in the space are the ones that are paying attention to all these little things. I always say, if you think your business is in a great spot, you just haven't uncovered the next challenge. But there are, as long as you're paying attention to these things, like there is a way, again, to be successful. Make sure you have your, finger on the pulse and really, truly make sure that we're, again, moving in the right direction, paying attention to all of this stuff. For the sake of this presentation and time, I've done my best to kind of boil it down to, what we kind of call these 3 steps. So again, this can be applied to if you are thinking about opening an Amazon store, or if you have a very, very mature business and we're just trying to take a closer look to see how we can really optimize and grow sales. The first is what we call retail readiness. This is, we're getting ready to launch. We're taking a look at the foundation. We're understanding, your account setup and just really how the business is, set up to play. The second is elevating. This is what I would call table stakes. This is what every brand needs to be engaging in order to be successful in any capacity. And then the last is optimizing and refining. These are, kind of cherry picking. This is going to depend on your budget, your sophistication, kind of where you are in your journey. Not everything is going to be applicable to every brand. Not every brand might qualify for everything, to be honest. And this is where, working with a partner who, understands the space can help bring these opportunities, help prioritize, help you understand, where your dollars are going to go the furthest. And refining is so important because we need to constantly be tweaking. It is not, kind of best in class. It's really the idea of like best to beat. The bar of what best in class is always moving. So we need to stay on top of that. We need to look at data and insights and make sure that what we're doing is moving the needle. And if it's not, we need to make sure that we're comfortable rerouting. So taking it piece by piece, the first thing we want to do is understand what is the competition and the category doing. I love this quote by Scott Galloway that market conditions will always trump individual performance. This is especially true. So often we'll work with brands that are, the market leader, the category leader in like a historical, like brick and mortar category that is late to the e-commerce game. And they are just, ready to go online and dominate the space. And they get there and there's a competitor they've never heard of that it just has tens of thousands of reviews. They're at the top. They're killing it in advertising. And they're like, but we've never heard of them. it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Like they are the competition online. We have to look at them all separately. And, that is who our competition is there. And it doesn't matter how well we perform. That's who we need to play against. And so really making sure that we have a great understanding of the space. We also think about the furniture industry or even CPG during COVID. Think about how that all, turned everything upside down. It doesn't matter what we were doing. The conditions of the market truly, changed how we had to approach everything and, what pricing and, demand and supply chain and everything else. So really, really important to make sure we understand what the category and space is doing. That will help us determine our budgets, our approach, our strategy, everything. From there, that will help us determine our assortment, whether we're starting from scratch, we're, cherry picking and kind of like pruning our assortment. It's really important to make sure that we kind of do the due diligence to understand what is out there and what the opportunity looks like. Love to call this white space, just really understanding like where can we win. Sometimes we have an opportunity to, kind of hammer what like sleeper SKUs. You would be shocked how often that there are just like these gaps in the market where we can really come in and items that maybe you don't have a lot of retail distribution and people are looking for online and others aren't selling. We can come in and really own that and really hammer those from an advertising perspective. What are you selling, elsewhere, whether that be in retail or on other online channels? We want to make sure that we're not upsetting the apple cart. We're not, we don't have to worry too much about price parity and, kind of pricing. We don't want to get into the death spiral of price matching. We really want to make sure that we have some sort of like, channel differentiation is amazing, but if not, we understand what is being sold where, and we're aware of any challenges that could arise. We also want to understand who your distribution partners are. Are there third parties that are going to pop up? Are the products e-commerce friendly? Not only, obviously selling large, selling bags of chips are very difficult. They're air, but also like, so large, low cost items are challenging, but also are there restrictions, batteries, pesticides, are they liquid and there's extra prep charges that are going to be incurred? Again, going back to the idea of upstream planning, can we, heat seal a label under the lid instead of having to pay that, 35 cents for the tape that goes on top? All these things add up and can be very challenging. And then lastly, of course, profitability, factoring all of these things in. Do we have can we streamline things in order to save and make sure that these aren't, popping up later to cause challenges? Some things that we can consider. I love multi-packs. We love bundles. We want to make sure our ASP is over $10. Over $15 is truly ideal. So, especially like in CPG or lower cost items, it's awesome to be able to make multi-packs. Bundles are great because we're able to, get people into other products, whether that be like a sampler or something. It's also in some product categories, you'll be able to virtually bundle or soft bundle online, where Amazon's actually doing that for you, which is great too. It's a great way to test. Also, another thing to keep in mind is using e-commerce as a, success study. Some retailers, the first thing they're going to ask you is, how does this product done elsewhere? And, you can use Amazon or somewhere else. So if you have an innovation that you're trying to get on shelf, you have upcoming line reviews, this is a great place to test and kind of build that story. I mentioned earlier, different ways to sell. There's 1P, kind of the historic legacy, much closer to legacy retailer relationship. You're selling at cost. They have control. They're setting the retail. There's terms like this. This is much closer to your historic retail relationship. But marketplace is what's really growing. 60% of the market today. A lot of brands are shifting to this. A lot of brands even have a vendor central, have a seller in some capacity, but we kind of call that a hybrid relationship. This is where you're listing it at retail. There are fees that come off on top of that. You have control of that retail price. But it's very important to note that you still have to be competitive. If we are not competitive, and if it is priced lower elsewhere, your buy box will break or be rolled up, meaning Amazon's not selling it at lower than the rest of the market demands. So definite pros and cons of both. Super important to run a profitability analysis and understand where you can be the most profitable. Really depends on your product type, depends on your cost, your retail, et cetera. I will say that the features and benefits of both are coming much closer. There used to be like some limitations, but just given where the market's going, it's very similar, whether it be promotions or, advertising features. So again, really just makes, running that profitability analysis and understanding kind of all pieces, whether it be your prep charges, whether it be, possibility of having, your liquidation or removal orders that are placed, chargebacks you could be incurred on 1P. Important to understand all the pieces so you can understand your true profitability when making these sorts of decisions. And then the last piece is always recommend brand registering off the bat. You will need to have a registered trademark that also appears in your packaging, your product. You'll need to have all of that paperwork provided by an IP office. It'll need to be submitted by somebody who is authorized to submit that. It's just really like a technical process. But this allows you features, it allows you the ability to advertise and access to enhanced content. But it also allows you to report IP violations. This is for true counterfeit situations. It also there's some scraping technology that comes with it where, like if there are automatic fraudulent listings that will be kicked out. I will be very clear though, a lot of people believe this allows you to not, to combat third-party sellers. It does not. 99.9% of third-party sellers are legit. They get your product somewhere, even if it has fallen off the back of a truck, it is still a legitimate product. So, I've worked with hundreds, about thousands of brands over the last decade, and I think we've had 2 instances of true fraudulent product that is counterfeit, and we were able to have this removed. Some product categories, this is much more common than others. So again, absolutely something you need to take care of off the bat. There are some other, escalation paths such as, Project Zero and transparency. But again, just kind of depends on your product category. It depends on the circumstances. Now we're ready to sell, or we're ready to, get into some of the more fun stuff. The first being content. Content is king. I mean, it always has been. Content is, what I always say is like the fun stuff to talk about. And, I feel like earlier in my career, all we talked about was SEO. It's like, are you SEO optimized? What are your keywords? And while that is super important, there are over 220 different things that goes into Amazon's algorithm that brings products, that sorts products on the product page. SEO is, of course, one of them. Keywords are one of them, super important, but so are so many other things like reviews, number of images. Do you have A+ content? What is your what are your seller metrics? So while this is important, SEO is important, we want to make sure we're not so fixated on that and we're thinking about the business holistically. As mobile continues to grow, more people are shopping on mobile than desktop, especially on Amazon. We want to make sure that, imagery is key. Most people are not even reading bullet points anymore. They're looking at the title, they're scrolling through the image carousel. So how do you just answer all of their questions that they could have there? Because of this, infographics are just crucial right now. Because of things like Canva and, AI, they're easier than ever to make. You don't have to pay graphic designers. You have thousands of dollars, and wait weeks to get these done now, which is just fabulous. Video content is great. The, average click through and, watch rate of videos is just, increasing dramatically. Because again, people have a short attention span. They want to just get the information. They don't want to read. You might notice that you put in a long description and it's disappeared on Amazon. There are a lot of product pages that don't even have long descriptions because people are not reading them. So content is super crucial. Like I said, we had to prioritize it as imagery, obviously your title, bullets, then you're getting into description, and then we'll get into kind of the enhanced content side of things shortly. There's also user-generated content. This is so important. I mean, you can see here, it's 80% of people are influenced by reviews and actively seek out reviews. Almost everybody is going to avoid products that have negative reviews. Amazon has increased the star rating that is needed to be able to promote during Prime days to 4 stars. It was previously 3.5. So there are so many things that reviews impact. You have to have a certain number of reviews to even advertise in certain, advertise or promote. This is just, it is such a crucial piece of the business, and engaging with your consumer is so important. I also thought shocking that it's estimated about 42% of reviews on Amazon are, assumed to be fake. I think this is a lot of it is there's a lot of items, I'm sure we've all seen those items that pop up with 10,000 reviews overnight. Amazon, we've probably also seen reviews take longer to be posted. Amazon is really cracking down on this. They are scrubbing much harder and making sure that there is some validity to anything that is being posted. Because it is super important and they know how much consumers are relying on this. So, there are many, above board tactics like Amazon Vine. Unfortunately, they do not connect to any third parties like a Bazaar Voice or Power Reviewer like other sites do. But, within their site, there are some ways. And then, also there's, ways of review generation within, your own product, whether it's just, asking for reviews, via email or, post purchase, from your consumers who have actually purchased the product from the site. Advertising. Now I've kind of broken this into baseline advertising and, kind of advertising 2.0. Advertising is non-negotiable now. It used to be kind of a nice to have if you have the budget, and now it is like you have to advertise to have your product be discovered in any capacity. These are kind of the baseline tactics we would discuss if you were, just again getting started. We don't have, a massive budget to play with. Amazon's advertising business is just insane. I mean, over $20 billion last year, just wild. There's, kind of these are the four main types, and probably the most common ones you'll see. Sponsored product and sponsored brand are definitely the most common that you'll see, either embedded in the search results or kind of underneath the search bar. As we would, kind of discuss how we want to approach advertising, the three things that are really going to drive those decisions are, first, how much do we have to spend? Budget is always one of those hot topics. I feel like a couple of years ago, like 10% was like the magic number. 10% again is like table stakes. That is baseline. Defense is like closer to 15%. If we want to grow your business, we're looking, 20, 30% easily. It's just become so much more competitive. So super important to make sure that, we're factoring those things in as we're thinking about pricing, as we're thinking about your business, as we're thinking about what Amazon is going to cost. Also, what are your goals? Obviously, like with any pay-per-click, like it's much more lower funnel. But if we're trying to drive awareness, if we're launching new products, if you're a new brand, we're going to have to go much more upper funnel. And that's where we get into a little more advertising 2.0. We have to think about some STV, maybe DSP. Also, do you have creative and copy? Do we have video to run video ads? Do we have great branded content for some of those sponsored brand ads? Or are we really limited to the product pages? Are our product pages great, or do we really need to revamp those as well? It is important to have great content to ensure that we have, we're driving people to solid content and we're going to get them to convert. Promotions, also a very important piece of the puzzle. I will say, budget dependent. I always recommend kind of maxing out and having a healthy advertising budget before we even get into promotions, but it is category dependent. Some categories are much more promotionally driven than others. So going back to the very start, make sure you understand what the category and competition is doing to ensure that we're relevant and we are, in the game. Amazon has, a lot of different promotions. Some are 1P, some are, available on both, some are, 3P only. Coupons are probably like the most popular, I will say. You're funding a discount and a clip fee. They're especially great in like the CPG space. People are used to, kind of that coupon shopping, so it translates really nicely. Some are gaining traction. I think kind of the BOGO and promo code have been like, okay, they're a little frustrating because I think people forget to use them, but Amazon's making them better and a little more user-friendly. They're integrating social media deals because they recognize, the connection with influencers and, everything else, which has been great and is definitely gaining, some momentum. But really it's, understanding what are your key drive times. Prime Day is, again, an awesome time, but beyond Prime Day, like what are we doing around Prime Day? Is there a halo effect? Should we be thinking about, the before and after? Thinking about what is our strategy around like the Turkey 11? Do you have products that do really well in back to school? Are you more of a tax time? Like, understanding what your promotional schedule for the year and making sure that we have built out a calendar so that we're not prohibiting ourselves from qualifying for promotions for the rest of the year is super important, because Amazon has changed the way you qualify from a pricing perspective. We need to make sure that 30 days before, our price isn't too low, because that's what we're benchmarking off of for other key events. So super important to just make sure that we're taking all of these things into account. Also making sure we're thinking about your business as a whole. Do we have Walmart or Wayfair or Home Depot promotions to take into account? Because again, it's going to be looking at the entire market when it's using that lowest price. And then lastly, like I mentioned, just ensuring that we understand what really works for the category and the competition. Like I had said, truly all of those things are like baseline in order. If you are going to sell on Amazon, even if you are just dabbling, all 4 of those tactics are things that you need to be thinking about, have in your back pocket, and plan to participate in to some extent. But if you are, again, have some sort of budget, we really want to make sure that you are aware of these different initiatives as well. They're all important. They're all different things that can really help take your business to the next level. It is a choose your own adventure, again, because not everything is going to be applicable to everyone. Because of that, I am going to speak to them all at a fairly high level, but more than happy to, discuss any further if you would like to reach out. The first being making sure we're activating other platforms. Amazon Fresh, of course, is only going to be applicable to CPG and anything that is grocery or perishable. It is still one key and invite only. But if you do have a grocery item, it is definitely the way to go. It is like a larger piece of their business. You need to be on Amazon Fresh to be part of their Amazon grocery stores. There's an integration. If you are in Whole Foods, you should be selling on Amazon Fresh, but it isn't automatic. So if you kind of qualify for any of those things, definitely something that you should be thinking about and discussing. The way they handle advertising and marketing is much more of like a package program. So different than kind of like the a la carte pay-per-click that the rest of the platforms think about. Amazon Business is awesome and something that everybody should be integrating into their business in some capacity. It is a gated platform. You need a tax ID to gain access, so you don't have to worry about price matching in any capacity. All products are listed on it. So if you sell on Amazon, your product is on Amazon Business, but it is at the price that you are listing on Amazon unless you activate discounts. We recommend adding a discount, even if it is 1%, because many people filter by discounts and you are sorted, if you have a discount, higher to the top. So you can list a product at a 1% discount, you're going to get that automatic boost. You can also do tiered discounts. From items 1 to 100, you get a 1% discount, 100 to 200, 5%, whatever it might be. You can have people negotiate with you. You can, there's a lot of different things. You can do business only discounts. You can do custom quotes. So it is a great tool. And a lot of people think, oh, this might not be, perfect for my business, but there are so many small businesses out there. There are a lot of different people that are buying on it. So it generally is I think that more businesses are relevant than they necessarily think, and really recommend that everybody engage in this in some capacity. International, this is another rapidly growing space and one that has been really exciting to work with. Amazon has over 20 different unique marketplaces, but they ship to over 100 different countries. They have a program called Launchpad that is designed to help brands sell to these countries. So if you are getting started, or if you have just gotten started and have a very low threshold of sales, I recommend reaching out to try to get connected with a rep. They are really fantastic. I will say that the rest of the world is still emerging. Amazon US still accounts for about 2/3 of all sales. So it definitely is still like the lion's share, but the rest of the markets are definitely growing. You have Germany, UK, Japan, and India kind of following the US as to round out that top 5. And if you were just to dip your toe in, somewhere outside of North America, Europe is definitely the way to go. And there are some different programs like the PNEU program that really allow you to do that pretty seamlessly. When you think about approaching this, one of the biggest things is, do your products make sense, right? Like there are so many things that might make sense, but does it really make sense to ship a bed frame across, the sea? Probably not. It is very costly. There are a lot of different things, not only just shipping, but also you have to think about like the VAT, taxes, and, getting your business registered and everything else. So just understanding exactly what is necessary is truly important. Also, understanding the different rules and regulation. When it comes to CPG, there are a ton, whether it's having like in-country language on your packaging or like different health restrictions. But, just really, and, also in electronics, understanding like the UL regulations. So you really just need to understand and work with somebody who gets each category and, what makes the most sense. But if, you believe that you can be profitable, your product makes sense, great. It really can truly be an awesome opportunity. And again, it's growing very rapidly. Another thing, and again, Launchpad can really help with this, is understanding the cultural differences. Not only do your PDPs need to be translated into the local language, which Launchpad can help with, or, there's some great AI tools out there, but also understanding some of like the advertising messaging that, can be interpreted or misinterpreted differently is really important as well to ensuring just, you have the smoothest launch as possible. There's also some alternate logistics that you can explore. Again, this is truly like going to be business dependent. If you are shipping if your products are made in China, there are some really fantastic opportunities from Amazon Global Logistics where you're able to ship directly from China into Amazon's warehouses, and they really kind of seamlessly handle this all. Definitely a great opportunity to look into if you're doing, container loads. Multi-channel fulfillment is really cool. You're able to, utilize your Amazon inventory and send, to fulfill your, to fulfill orders on your B2B site or also to other retailers. Really just kind of streamline inventory, which, is always it's always, the more we can make things, the easier we can make things, the better. And then also fulfilled by merchant or drop ship. We've talked a lot about utilizing Amazon's fulfillment network just because in general, they have really fantastic pricing and they really make it seamless. But if you have larger items, if you have long tail items, handmade items, it does make sense to explore this as well. Certifications are another great way to stand out. You do get a little boost from this. You also, a lot of people sort by this. There are stores, specific stores. Climate pledge friendly is a big one that Amazon's pushing. So is small business. It's a lot of features. There's also diverse seller badges. If you are an African American, a woman, minority, or a veteran-owned business, you can upload these certificates and have these badges on your product. Again, there are filters on the left-hand rail, and then also individual shops for each of these. And then for each of, kind of the respective months, they also get a lot of features. So if you have any of these certificates, highly recommend, uploading those and getting that extra boost. Getting into advertising 2.0, as I mentioned, a lot of these just have a higher threshold for spend, which is why, we don't talk about this off the bat. And it's really going to depend on what your budget is and the sophistication of your business. But STV, which is sponsored TV, it's you might have heard of CTV. It is the same. Amazon just calls it STV. These are ads that are shown on Amazon Smart TV devices. So it's shown either on Prime TV or Freevee. They're really great. It's a short branded commercial. We've seen some shocking success with some of our clients, which is awesome. And it's just a really great way to reach that upper funnel audience and gain more awareness. So if you're really looking for that upper funnel tactic, really recommend looking into this. It's still, again, talk about first mover. For a while, Amazon was producing that commercial for you for free, which is really fantastic. And it's still a really low cost. So absolutely a tactic I would recommend looking into. DSP is another great opportunity, demand-side platform. Allows you to programmatically buy ads and which follow people off of Amazon. So, whether they're they're now on Pinterest or they're on their Yahoo and looking at email, again, just kind of hitting them a little more mid-funnel, but just building out, there really is a way to kind of full funnel activate within Amazon and kind of hit the consumer at all of those different points. Thinking about enhanced content, enhanced content is really fantastic because there are as I mentioned, there are so many people who are literally just looking to, press buy now without going below the fold. But the consumer that is looking to go below the fold wants information. They want to know all the details, and you do not want them to click back to the search result and end up on the competitor's page. So how do you get them all the information that they can possibly need? A plus content is one of the great ways to do that. Show them different products in your category. I love comparison charts are one of my favorite, modules that you can have. Even just having one module of A plus content gives you, a boost in the search results. So you don't have to build out these beautiful fancy pages. You can literally have one branded, module to start and then build from there. Showing other products in your category, giving them, helping them with decision trees. We work with a hair care client, and they get a lot of questions about, well, this is my hair. How do I make this decision? They might not know what, if they're a C4, what exactly hair type they are. So we've made this decision tree to help them consumers understand exactly how to find that. And, we believe that's really helping with conversion. Another thing is brand stores. Brand stores are a great landing page. Again, it's great for education. It's great to help showcase complete product categories, and again, just really help consumers learn more about your brand as a whole, what you entirely have to offer. Amazon's being really into live streams. This is a growing part of the category. And a growing offer, which is pretty cool. This is also integrated into social media. Amazon Posts, it is kind of like a social media type feed that's integrated into your brand store. Both of these are, not massive at the moment, but I think they're definitely, again, going back to that test and learn mentality. If you have the content, we absolutely recommend utilizing it. Why not? The more you can get in front of consumers, the more you can build your brand, absolutely, the better. Buy with Prime is another way to integrate Prime, and just again that Amazon, the kind of grip that Amazon has on the consumer into your own store. You basically are adding a Buy with Prime button to your own store, whether that's Shopify or whatever other platform you use, and you're utilizing your Amazon inventory and Amazon's fulfillment network to complete that purchase, which is fantastic. I think it's amazing that 3 out of 4 Buy with Prime orders are from new customers. That's huge. Everybody that is utilizing that is seeing some sort of lift. I've seen multiple case studies where brands are seeing a 60% lift. It is just it's a huge, think about not having to go get your credit card or, kind of trust a new site. It's all right there. You're able to kind of one-click checkout just like you are on Amazon. There are fees, of course, associated with the order processing, but they are very reasonable. Again, Keystone is actually a Buy with Prime partner, and we're able to, seamlessly set this up if, again, something that anybody is interested in exploring further. Subscribe and save, another super easy thing to turn on and, increase demand. I think that subscribe and save is one of those things that, you either have a perfect product for it or, it doesn't really work. Actually, a lot of products can't even turn it on anymore. They really have kind of gated it to categories that make sense. But it's for, commonly repeated purchases, huge in CPG, HPC, all products are enrolled with no discount. But if you add a discount, the increase that brands are seeing is just absolutely huge. You can add a 5 or a 10% discount. And then, that can be increased to 10 and 15%, depending on if a person has 1 to 4 or 5 or above subscriptions. Which is great. So again, this is going to boost you in search. The retention rate is huge. The retention rate increases dramatically when you increase that discount from 5 to 10%. You are not funding that incremental 5% if a consumer has 5 subscriptions. Amazon is, just FYI. But it is just a really great way, again, to kind of get people into your product. There are many brands that have just, this is a massive portion of their sales. Think, again, pet is another huge category. So, again, if you're in the CPG space, absolutely recommend looking into this and ensuring that you have this optimized. Then customer engagement. This is one where, you have so much more access to tools like this on the third party side on Seller Central than you do on vendor. brand tailored promotions is one that is newer and is really great. You're able to send promotions to customers that fit into different segments, whether that's cart abandoners, potential customers, high value customers, potentially high value customers. And you can send them a 5% off coupon, 10%, whatever you want it to be, email. And we've seen some really fantastic results with these. And you can set them up as automated campaigns. So, you're sending targeted promotions to somebody who has already expressed interest in your brand. Just a really great way to, kind of help increase that conversion. As I mentioned earlier, reviews are so important. You're able to, if you can respond to reviews, it's amazing. Respond to their questions. Just engage with people. People are actually able to change their reviews. So sometimes if they have a review and it's a broken product, it, maybe it was the wrong fit and they leave a negative review, sometimes just responding to them really changes their perspective and allows, gives them such a positive experience and they want to go back and change that. So really is positive. Also, review request. You will need a third-party software such as a KPOC to do this, but this is really impactful. On average, only 1% to 2% of people that purchase your product are going to leave a review. Doing this can increase it to up to about 10%, but just sending an automated email a week or two after they receive the product, we can take out anybody who has returned the product or requested a return. But just sending that email, requesting that review kind of helps prompt that. And again, increases that percentage, I think is really, really important. And then lastly, as I mentioned, refining is so important. Again, in this amount of time, I absolutely could not have touched on everything that Amazon has to offer. I tried to keep it, as high level as possible, just kind of the core tactics to a successful business to think about, growing the business while keeping profitability and, operational optimization in mind. But I think it is so important to kind of wrap up talking about the idea of refining. There is so much data out of there, but I think often, I call it analysis paralysis. There's so many brands that are buying all of this data, but they really don't have any of the insights. They don't know what they're doing with the data. And so I think it's so important to make sure you're understanding, what are you doing? Like how are you bringing it all together? What are the insights you're garnering actually actionable? Are you maximizing, do you truly understand what you're able to get off of the Amazon platform? Did you have the awesome plugins like Keepa and, Camel that are out there because they're free and, truly you can get a lot of great information out of it. And then what are the gaps you're looking to fill? Is it share of voice? Is it that you truly just want everything in one dashboard to make your life easy? Is it, the review request, software? Is it AI automation? Is it advertising, AI optimization? There's so many great third-party paid, data software that we utilize and brands utilize that are amazing. And but finding the right one and being transparent about what you need, your budget, and what makes the most sense, and then pulling it all together to create truly a suite of information that is going to be actionable. Because having data is only good as the insights and the actions that come out of it. So again, another thing that working with a partner, a trusted partner that can truly help you determine what that is and help craft those insights into a strategy that's really going to help you propel your business forward. That's really where the value comes from. Bringing it back to the beginning, again, if you had to summarize kind of those 6 kind of core tactics, kind of core principles, putting the customer first, truly trying to pull the upstream thinking of having upstream thinking to make sure that e-commerce is at the forefront of your mind when you are thinking about your business as a whole, when you are thinking about innovation, when you're thinking about your pricing model, when you're thinking about who your consumer is and who you are trying to sell to, your marketing strategy for the year, your sales plan, and then being open to testing and learning, wanting to be first and fast, understanding how that is going to impact you at the end of the day and truly help you be at the cutting edge of your category, really is going to help set you apart. That's where we're able to truly be profitable. That's where we're truly able to drive sales. And again, just kind of be ahead above the rest. One of my favorite quotes, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. It is never too late. I think sometimes we spend so much time planning. We spend so much time trying to dive into the numbers and trying to make sure we get it right. We are never going to get it right. It is so much more important to be first and fast than it is to be correct. The wrong decision is better than indecision. You just got to get going sometimes, whether that is you are thinking about getting started on Amazon, whether you have a really mature business and you're thinking about making a change, just get going. That's one of the best parts about e-commerce. We can undo things pretty much as quickly as we can do things. So, this is, again, it's a very exciting space that is changing very rapidly. And as I mentioned previously, my business partner and I are, we're part of Keystone Commerce. We're the founder and co-founder, and would love to run an audit for anybody or talk to you about how we can help amplify your efforts and you just really optimize your business and help you be successful on Amazon. So our contact information is here. Please do not hesitate to reach out and start a conversation. Thank you so much.